A father's worst nightmare came true on a hot summer day. His baby daughter was attacked by a dangerous dog while the owner watched and did nothing. In that moment, Marcus had to choose: follow the law or save his child's life. His choice changed everything forever. Before watching full story, comment below from where are you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. Marcus Johnson was a good man. He was tall and strong. He had kind eyes and a warm smile. Marcus worked at a garage fixing cars. His hands were rough from hard work, but his heart was soft. Marcus lived with his wife Lena and baby daughter Aaliyah. Lena was a nurse. She helped sick people at the hospital. She had gentle hands and always tried to help others. Their baby Aaliyah was 6 months old. She was beautiful with big brown eyes and a sweet laugh. 2 years ago they moved to a nice neighborhood called Oakwood Hills. The houses were big and pretty. The grass was green and cut neat. Marcus and Lena wanted a safe place for Aaliyah to grow up. But some neighbors did not like them. They did not like them because Marcus and Lena were black. The neighbors never said this directly, but Marcus knew it was true. The worst neighbor was Karen Whitaker. She was about 50 years old with yellow hair. Karen was the boss of the neighborhood group called the HOA. She made rules for everyone but never followed them herself. Karen did not like Marcus's family from day one. She would leave mean notes on their door. The note said stupid things like, "Cut your grass shorter," or "Your car is too dirty." At meetings, Karen would talk about those people making the neighborhood look bad. Karen had a big dog named Brutus. The dog was scary with big teeth and angry eyes. All the neighbors were afraid of Brutus. The rules said all dogs must be on a leash, but Karen never put one on Brutus. When people complained, she would say, "He's my baby. He won't hurt anyone." This was a lie. Everyone knew Brutus was dangerous, but they were too scared to fight Karen. Marcus tried very hard to be a good neighbor. When people were rude to him, he stayed calm. When they stared at his family, he just smiled. He thought if he worked hard and was nice, people would accept them. "Just give them time," Marcus told Lena. "Once they see we're good people, everything will be okay." But Lena was not so sure. At the grocery store, people stared at her. At the park, mothers pulled their children away when she tried to be friendly. Even when Lena helped people as a nurse, some patients asked for a different nurse just because she was black. Still, Marcus and Lena stayed positive for Aaliyah. They wanted her to grow up happy. They planted flowers in front of their house. Marcus fixed cars in his garage and always waved at neighbors. Lena took Aaliyah for walks in her stroller every day. But Karen made their life hard. She called the police about Marcus's work music being too loud. She complained when friends visited their house. She even tried to make them paint their door a different color. The other neighbors saw what Karen was doing, but nobody spoke up. They were afraid of her too. Mrs. Peterson, an old lady who lived nearby, was the only one who was kind to them. She would bring cookies to Aaliyah and tell Marcus he was a good man. "Don't let Karen get to you," Mrs. Peterson said. "Some people have hate in their hearts, but most of us know you're good folks." As months passed, Brutus got worse. The big dog would run around the neighborhood without a leash. He would bark at children and chase cats. Once he bit the mailman on the arm. The mailman needed stitches, but Karen paid him money to stay quiet. Parents started keeping their children inside when they saw Brutus coming. People crossed the street to avoid the dog. Many neighbors wanted to complain, but they were scared of Karen's anger. Marcus worried about Aaliyah's safety. "What if that dog hurts our baby?" he asked Lena. "Maybe we should move," Lena said. "This place is not good for us." But Marcus did not want to give up. They had saved money for years to buy this house. He had a good job at the garage nearby. Aaliyah had a nice yard to play in. "We have every right to live here," Marcus said. "I won't let them scare us away." So they stayed, but Marcus started keeping a gun in his garage. He bought it after someone broke into their old apartment years ago. He hoped he would never need it, but he wanted to protect his family if something bad happened. "Promise me you'll only use it if you have to," Lena said. "I promise," Marcus said. "I just want us to be safe." It was a very hot day in July. The sun was burning and the air was thick. Marcus was in his garage fixing Mrs. Peterson's old truck. She needed it to run better, and Marcus was happy to help her. Lena sat on their front porch holding Aaliyah. The baby was wearing a pretty yellow dress that her grandmother had sent. Aaliyah was looking at butterflies flying around Lena's flowers. She was making happy baby sounds and trying to catch the colorful wings. It was a peaceful moment. Marcus could see his wife and daughter from the garage, and it made him smile. This was why he worked so hard for quiet times like this with his family. Then he heard barking. Loud, angry barking. Marcus looked up and saw Brutus running fast across the street. The dog's teeth were showing and his eyes looked crazy. Behind him, Karen was walking slowly, looking at her phone. She was not watching her dangerous dog at all. "Brutus, come here," Karen called, but she did not sound worried. She was more interested in her phone than her dog. Marcus felt fear shoot through his body like lightning. "Lena, get inside," he shouted, dropping his tools and running toward the porch. But it was too late. Brutus jumped onto the porch like a monster. His big teeth bit down hard on little Aaliyah's face. The baby screamed louder than Marcus had ever heard. It was a sound that went straight through his heart like a knife. Lena screamed too and tried to pull the dog away from her baby. But Brutus was too strong and too angry. His teeth went deeper into Aaliyah's soft skin. Blood started flowing down her cheeks. Her cries got weaker as she lost more blood. Marcus reached the porch in seconds, but it felt like hours. He grabbed Brutus by his thick collar and pulled with all his strength. The dog was like a machine. He would not let go of Aaliyah no matter how hard Marcus pulled. "Let her go," Marcus screamed at the dog. But Brutus only bit harder. Lena was crying and trying to help. Her hands were covered in her baby's blood. She was saying, "Please, please, please," over and over, but the dog did not care. Finally, Karen walked over. But she did not look scared or sorry. She looked annoyed, like this was just a small problem. "He's just playing," she said, as if a baby screaming and bleeding was normal. Marcus could not believe what he heard. "Playing?" he yelled. "Your dog is killing my daughter." "Don't be so dramatic," Karen said. Brutus wouldn't really hurt anyone. But Marcus could see that Aaliyah was getting weaker. Her cries were becoming whispers. Her little body was getting still. The dog was going to kill her if something did not change right now. Marcus felt something break inside his heart. All the anger he had kept inside for years came out at once. All the times people had been mean to his family. All the times Karen had made their life hard. All the fear he had felt watching his daughter grow up in a place that did not want her. "I have to save her," Marcus thought. "No one else will." Marcus ran back to his garage. His hands were shaking as he opened the safe where he kept his gun. He had bought it to protect his family, and now his family needed protecting more than ever. As he ran back to the porch, the gun felt heavy in his hands. But not as heavy as the fear in his heart. Not as heavy as the sound of his daughter's screams. When he got back, Brutus was still biting Aaliyah. Lena was still trying to pull him away. Karen was still standing there doing nothing to help. "Get your dog off my daughter," Marcus shouted, pointing the gun at Karen. Karen saw the gun and her eyes got big. But she still did not move fast enough. "Calm down," she said. "You're overreacting." "Overreacting?" Marcus looked at his baby daughter covered in blood, getting weaker by the second. This woman's dog was killing his child, and she thought he was overreacting? "Make him stop," Marcus yelled. But Karen just stood there. She did not care that a baby was dying. She did not care that her dog was a monster. She only cared about being right. Marcus made his choice. He aimed the gun at Karen and pulled the trigger. The sound was like thunder. Karen fell to the ground with blood on her white shirt. When Brutus heard the gunshot, he finally let go of Aaliyah and ran away down the street. Marcus dropped the gun and fell to his knees next to his wife and daughter. There was blood everywhere, on Aaliyah's face, on Lena's hands, on the porch floor. "I'm sorry," Marcus whispered to his family. But he was not sorry for shooting Karen. He was sorry that he had not acted sooner. He was sorry that his little girl had been hurt so badly. Neighbors came running when they heard the gunshot. Some people screamed when they saw Karen on the ground. Others called 911. But Marcus did not care about any of them. He only held his wife and daughter. Aaliyah was barely crying now. Her little body was weak from losing so much blood. Lena pressed her hands against the wounds, trying to stop the bleeding. "Stay with mommy, baby," she whispered. "Please don't leave mommy." Police sirens got louder and louder. Marcus knew they were coming for him. He knew his life was about to change forever. But when he looked at Aaliyah and saw she was still breathing, he knew he had done the right thing. The ambulance arrived first. Paramedics rushed to help Aaliyah while police officers put handcuffs on Marcus. They read him his rights as Lena begged them to wait. "He saved our daughter," Lena cried. "That dog was killing her." But the police had a job to do. They put Marcus in their car while the paramedics put Aaliyah on a stretcher. Lena climbed into the ambulance with her baby. As the police car drove away, Marcus saw Karen's body covered with a white sheet. He felt no sadness for her. She had caused all of this. Her hate and her dangerous dog had hurt his family. He only felt worried about Aaliyah. At the hospital, doctors took Aaliyah into surgery right away. Lena sat alone in the waiting room. Her clothes were still covered in blood. She prayed harder than she had ever prayed in her life. The waiting room smelled like medicine and fear. Other families sat quietly, dealing with their own problems. But Lena felt completely alone. Her husband was in jail and her baby was fighting for her life. After what felt like forever, a doctor came out. He looked tired but kind. "Your daughter is alive," he said. "But her injuries are very serious. The dog damaged muscles and nerves in her face. She will need many surgeries over the years. And there will be permanent scars." Lena started crying. She was happy that Aaliyah was alive, but her heart broke thinking about the pain her baby had suffered. "Can I see her?" The doctor led her to a small room where Aaliyah lay in a tiny bed. Half of her face was covered with white bandages. Machines beeped around her, checking her heartbeat and breathing. She looked so small and hurt. Lena pulled a chair next to the bed and held Aaliyah's little hand. "Mommy's here, baby," she whispered. "Daddy saved you. You're going to be okay." While Aaliyah was recovering in the hospital, news reporters heard about the shooting. They came to Oakwood Hills with cameras and microphones. They wanted to tell the story to the whole country. But the news was not fair to Marcus. They called him a dangerous man who had murdered an innocent woman. They showed pictures of Karen smiling at charity events. They talked about what a good person she was and how much the community would miss her. The newspapers barely mentioned Aaliyah. When they did, they made her injuries sound small. They did not talk about the years of harassment that Marcus's family had suffered. They did not mention that Brutus had never been on a leash or that Karen had ignored complaints about her dangerous dog. On television, news people shook their heads sadly as they talked about another senseless shooting. They showed Marcus's jail picture next to Karen's smiling face. They made it look like a criminal had killed an angel. But some people knew the truth. Mrs. Peterson wrote on Facebook about how Marcus had always been kind and helpful. She told everyone how Karen had been cruel to his family from the day they moved in. Other neighbors started speaking up too. They shared stories about Karen's racism and her dangerous dog. They posted pictures of Brutus running loose in the neighborhood. They talked about how scared they had been but how no one had been brave enough to complain officially. Then a video appeared online. It was from a neighbor's security camera, showing Brutus attacking Aaliyah while Karen stood by doing nothing. When people saw this video, many changed their minds about what had happened. Soon there were two sides fighting on the internet. Some people said Marcus was a hero who had saved his daughter. Others said he was a killer who deserved prison. The argument got louder and angrier every day. Parents especially understood why Marcus had acted as he did. "I would do the same thing to protect my child," wrote a mother from Texas. "Any parent would," wrote a father from California. But other people said Marcus should have found another way. "Violence is never the answer," they wrote. "He should have called the police." These people did not understand that there was no time to call police. They did not understand that Aaliyah would have died while Marcus waited for help. As the weeks passed, more evidence came out about Karen's past. Reporters found out that she had been trying to keep black families out of Oakwood Hills for years. She had filed false complaints, spread racist rumors, and used her position in the HOA to make life difficult for anyone she did not want in the neighborhood. They also discovered that Brutus had attacked other people before. The mailman was not the only victim. A delivery driver had been bitten on the leg. A child walking to school had been chased and knocked down. Each time, Karen had paid money to keep people quiet instead of properly training her dog or keeping him on a leash. Marcus's trial started 6 months after the shooting. Every day the courtroom was packed with people on both sides. Karen's family sat in the front row, crying and glaring at Marcus. Supporters of Marcus wore t-shirts with Aaliyah's picture. The prosecutor was a man named Robert Hayes. He was running for district attorney and wanted to look tough on crime. He told the jury that Marcus was dangerous and had taken the law into his own hands. "This man had choices," Hayes said. "He could have called 911. He could have tried harder to separate the dog from the child. Instead, he chose to murder an innocent woman in cold blood." But Marcus's lawyer, Sarah Mitchell, told a different story. She showed the jury pictures of Aaliyah's injuries, the deep cuts on her face where Brutus's teeth had torn her skin. "This is what Karen Whitaker's dog did to a 6-month-old baby," Mitchell said, holding up a photo of Aaliyah in the hospital. "This is why Marcus Johnson acted to save his daughter's life." Karen's friends testified about what a good person she was. They talked about her charity work and her love for animals. But when Sarah Mitchell asked them questions, they admitted they knew Brutus was dangerous. They admitted that Karen never kept him on a leash. Some even admitted they had been afraid of the dog themselves. The most important witness was Lena. When she took the stand, the courtroom was completely quiet. She wore a simple black dress and spoke in a clear, strong voice. "Tell us what happened that day," Sarah Mitchell said gently. Lena took a deep breath. "I was sitting on our porch with my baby. She was wearing her favorite yellow dress. We were watching butterflies in my flower garden. Then I heard barking. I looked up and saw that dog running straight at us. I tried to protect Aaliyah, but he was too fast and too strong." "What did Karen Whitaker do when her dog attacked your daughter?" "She just stood there. She wasn't even watching her dog. She was looking at her phone. When Marcus begged her to help, she acted like it was no big deal. She said the dog was just playing, while my baby was screaming and bleeding." "What would have happened if your husband had not acted?" Lena looked directly at the jury. "My daughter would be dead. That dog was killing her and nobody else was going to stop it." The prosecutor tried to make Lena admit that Marcus was violent or had a bad temper. But she stood firm. "My husband is the gentlest man I know," she said. "He reads bedtime stories to our daughter. He helps our elderly neighbors. He has never hurt anyone in his life. He only acted because he had to save our baby." After 3 days of thinking about the case, the jury returned with their decision: guilty of second-degree murder. Marcus would go to prison for 20 years. Lena's scream echoed through the courtroom. She collapsed in her chair as Marcus was led away in handcuffs. He did not look back because he could not bear to see her pain. That night in his cell, Marcus cried for the first time since the shooting. He thought about Aaliyah growing up without her father. He thought about Lena raising their daughter alone while dealing with medical bills and therapy appointments. But outside the courthouse, people were angry about the verdict. They did not think justice had been served. Mrs. Peterson started a petition asking the governor to pardon Marcus. Within a week, 10,000 people had signed it. Within a month, 100,000 people had signed it. Protests began outside the courthouse. People carried signs with Aaliyah's picture and chanted, "Free Marcus Johnson." Ministers gave speeches about protecting children and standing up to racism. Lena became the face of the movement to free her husband. She spoke at rallies, telling crowds about the man she married and the father Aaliyah needed. "My husband is not a criminal," she would say. "He is a hero who saved our daughter's life." While the fight for Marcus's freedom continued, Lena had to focus on taking care of Aaliyah. The little girl needed many surgeries to fix her face. The medical bills were huge even with insurance. Lena worked extra hours at the hospital to pay for everything. She was tired all the time, but she never let Aaliyah see her cry. She wanted her daughter to grow up strong and confident. Aaliyah was a brave little girl. As she got older, she asked questions about her scars and why Daddy was not living at home. Lena always told her the truth in simple words. "Daddy had to go away because he protected you from a bad dog. He loves you very much and wants to come home." Marcus found purpose in prison by helping other inmates learn to read and write. Many of the men there had never finished school. Marcus taught them and helped them write letters to their families. Every week, Lena brought Aaliyah to visit him in prison. They would sit at a small table and share stories about their week. Aaliyah would draw pictures for her daddy and tell him about school. Marcus would help her with homework and give her advice. "Am I ugly, Daddy?" Aaliyah asked him once when she was 5 years old. Marcus took her small hands in his. "You are the most beautiful girl in the world," he said. "Your scars show how brave you are. They show that you survived something very scary. That makes you special." After 8 long years, the governor finally gave Marcus his freedom. Public pressure and new evidence about Karen's racist behavior had made it impossible to ignore the case any longer. The day Marcus was released, hundreds of supporters gathered outside the prison. News cameras recorded every moment as the gates opened and Marcus walked out into the sunshine. Aaliyah ran to him first. She was 10 years old now, tall with long braids and her mother's warm smile. The scars on her face had faded but were still visible. "Daddy," she said, and Marcus's heart filled with joy. He had missed so much of her childhood, but she was still his little girl. Lena came next, tears streaming down her face. They held each other tight, not caring about all the cameras around them. They were a family again. Returning to Oakwood Hills was strange for Marcus. The neighborhood looked the same, but everything felt different. Many people came by to welcome him home and apologize for not speaking up sooner. Mrs. Peterson, now very old, brought a chocolate cake she had made. "I never stopped believing in you," she told Marcus with tears in her eyes. Marcus had to learn how to be free again. Simple things like going to the store felt overwhelming after 8 years in prison. But Lena and Aaliyah helped him adjust. The hardest part was dealing with his feelings. Marcus felt guilty for missing years of Aaliyah's life. But he also felt grateful to be free and determined to make the most of his second chance. Every evening, the family would sit on their front porch where the attack had happened years before. Lena's flowers were still there, more beautiful than ever. Sometimes neighbors would stop by to chat. The community that had once been divided was slowly healing. 3 years after Marcus's release, they received a surprising invitation. An organization that fought against discrimination wanted Marcus to speak at their conference. They wanted him to share his story to help prevent other tragedies. At first Marcus was not sure. The memories were still painful. But 13-year-old Aaliyah encouraged him. "Maybe you can help prevent something like this from happening to another family," she said. So Marcus agreed to speak. He told his story honestly but without anger. He talked about the importance of treating all people with respect and dealing with problems before they become tragedies. "I don't regret saving my daughter," he said to the audience. "But I wish we could have found a way to solve this without anyone getting hurt." Communities need to speak up when they see hate and discrimination. They need to stop dangerous situations before children get hurt. As the family drove home that night, Marcus felt something he had not felt in years: peace. He had found a way to turn their tragedy into something that might help others. "I'm proud of you, Daddy," Aaliyah said from the back seat. "You helped people today." Marcus looked at his daughter in the mirror. She was growing up to be a remarkable young woman, strong, kind, and wise. The scars on her face were barely visible in the dim light, but the strength in her voice was unmistakable. When they got home, they sat on the porch as they did most evenings. The street was quiet and peaceful. Children played in yards while their parents watched. It was the kind of scene Marcus had dreamed of when they first moved to Oakwood Hills. Lena took his hand. "Do you ever regret what you did?" she asked quietly. Marcus thought for a long moment. He thought about the 8 years in prison, the pain his family had endured, the scars that would never fully heal. But then he looked at Aaliyah, alive and healthy and full of hope for the future. "No," he said finally. "I would do it all again if it meant saving her." Aaliyah looked up from her homework and smiled at her parents. In that moment, sitting together on their porch with butterflies dancing in Lena's flowers, they were complete. They were home. They were a family that had survived the worst and found their way back to love.